Hello everybody, Grant Keene here again. Another video. This time I'm going to give a video. It's going to be tedious for those of you that really don't care and really don't want to know, or that follow all my videos, that have come to council meetings, that have watched the stuff I put on Facebook. This is going to be old hat for you. But I've been asked, usually by people pretending to be concerned. They just want to cause trouble, and they ask, well, give us some solutions. All you ever do is criticize, criticize, criticize. You never give solutions. Well, obviously, those are people that don't come to the council meetings, watch the council meetings, watch my videos, or they would know. But I did have a man recently that I felt was genuine, and he asked that, and I thought, well, I'll make this video for him. And where I get into some of the details of the solutions and how we fix the mess that Walhalla is in. And it is a mess. I had to write it down. It took some time. I'm sorry if it's tedious for you. You don't need to watch it. But if you want to know exactly what is going on in my mind and how I would fix this problem, because I've had a solution from 4 years ago. We've had solutions how to fix the problem. The solutions get more dire all the time, because the longer further we go in this hole, and the more that nobody wants to go with common sense solutions, and they want to keep on going into debt and into worse trouble with the water and everything else, well then every year it's harder and harder to come up with a solution and fix it. I still think we can. It's probably a last chance, but I still think we can, and here we go. I typed much of it out, and so just stick with me. I'll read it, as you can watch it on there. You can on the board, and you can screenshot it and take time and just look at it and think about it later until you grasp it. Anyhow, here goes. So there are two basic solutions for Walhalla. For any city government, there's two basic solutions out there. Number one, you have the classic liberal tax and spend solution that promises if the city government spends enough money on downtown and its appearance, will attract a throng of tourists who will flood our city with cash and make Walhalla prosperous. That's what we've been dealing with now for 13 and a half years. Well, we all know the problems, but let me list. The problems with following that right there is as follows. The city's infrastructure was neglected, resulting in the current water crisis. Taxes, fees, and water rates have soared without any increase in service. Employee morale has crashed as they've been continually made to do more with less compensation due to inflation. The department heads, our experts in the field, have been threatened with their jobs if they mention their professional observations. 2 utility directors have been forced out in the past year. You know about that. Scott Paris and the firing just recently of Laramie Hinkle. Another problem, business after business has come to town on the promise of a great future, only to fail and leave town within a couple of years. The Walhalla area real estate market has collapsed because of what realtors are crediting to, quote, the news of Walhalla's dirty water. And then the problem, the city's operating bank accounts have dipped so low that A, the city council mandated a hiring freeze, B, the city's subcontractors are complaining about the slowness of being paid, and C, the city's longtime city clerk quit her job for fear of soon not being able to make the payroll for her fellow employees. She quit, mind you, with 3 years, 1 month, and 9 days to go before retirement. That is the solution that we've been operating on for 13 and a half years, and you can see what it's gotten us. Now, the other basic solution for Walhalla is here. In contrast to the big, highly involved government solution that we've been operating on, however, there is a conservative, limited government solution. This solution makes no promises as to the success or failure of the city's people and businesses. It sees success and failure of individual residents and businesses as beyond the scope of government. Rather, this conservative solution lays the groundwork for everyone's potential success by involving the city government in matters of necessity only. Now, here are the benefits of a government that's just concerned about the shared needs of us all, and limits it right there. And it leaves people to have the freedom to succeed or fail on their own. Here's the benefits of a government like that. Because the city government is smaller, it can function with less money, resulting in lower taxes, fees, and rates for the people. Because the city government has its hand in fewer pots, it can do what it does better and quicker. Since this solution is built on the individual resident and individual business owner shaping his or her own destiny, the city doesn't burden them with a litany of overreaching rules and regulations that infringes upon their personal freedoms. Since this solution encourages freedom and self-responsibility, residents have more opportunity to create both in-home and storefront businesses for themselves without the threat of government involvement. Since neither Seneca or Westminster provides a local pro-business, pro-freedom city government like this, potential business owners will be more likely to start their businesses in Walhalla rather than elsewhere. Because a city government like this has far, far fewer rules restricting the things a homeowner can do with his or her property, the cost of living in the city could be much cheaper due to a family's potential for raising its own food and using its property to provide for itself. Since a free, family-oriented solution like this is cheaper than the modern big government options, Walhalla would be able to retain its place as a working-class town where its neighbors care for one another's well-being rather than worrying about the color of their front door or the length of their grass. In short, all day, every day, people will be put before appearance, and when the government is called on, it'll be there to help, not to hinder. Okay, now let's move right over here to the next page. That's my solution. And let me get a little further in the weeds when we're talking. My solution is the conservative, limited governor, get the government out of our business so we can be free to succeed, rather than taking all our money constantly, spending on it on what an elite clique of people think we can do to succeed and failing. So, solution for fixing Walhalla's current mess. Here's the basic concept once again. Keep the main thing the main thing. And here's the main thing. Take care of everyone's shared needs. Ignore the wants of the clique. In fact, ignore the wants of any clique. Everyone's wants. Who cares? What we're doing here in government is handling our needs that we all have in common. Here are those shared common needs in order of priority. Number one, clean water. Is there anybody out there that believes that clean water is not our number one priority? I don't think there is. If there is, they're an idiot. Clean water is our number one shared common need. Number two, what I've called good sanitation. I've included in that both the sewage and the garbage disposal. Without good sanitation, we have rampant disease and rodent control out of control and great problems. Number three, fire protection. Number four, police protection. And number five, recreation. Some people might think that recreation isn't a need. I agree with the founding fathers here, those that have long put recreation in there, that it is need. It is a need for children to be guided and molded and shaped by good men, and sports and recreation is a wonderful way of doing that very thing. So now, let's move over here. We have the 5 things, the 5 necessities: clean water, good sanitation, that's sewage and garbage disposal, fire protection, police protection, and recreation. How do we fund these needs from what the city currently brings in? That's the issue. Clean water, leave the water department's money with the water department, including the $6 million the city needs to pay back to the water fund, and there will be plenty of money for parts, maintenance, employees, equipment, and the matching part of government grants that the city would then be eligible for. People have said, oh my, how are we ever going to do the $25 million worth of upgrades over 10 years? It's not $25 million, it's $30 to $40 million of repairing our infrastructure that's shot all to pieces. Why everyone's has all this brown water all over the place. That's what's going on. How are we ever gonna pay for that? Well, the thing is, the only way we ever get to that is having money to match government grants. And the only way we're going to have money to do our part of government grants, because you generally have to put, like this grant that we've had going for 2 years now that they're finally working on, and they're doing along North Broad and Main Street. That grant came in at $10 million. Well, fantastic. But we have to put up $1.5 million. We better get that $6 million back from the general fund so we can start doing that. If we've got that money to help, we got no problem getting the grants. The state's going to be happy to help us in our trouble, but they need to see we become fiscally responsible. Right now, the state's sick when they think of Walhalla and what we're doing and how we've frittered away all our money. And they're not going to give us any money. If we show them we're fiscally responsible and we've got money where we can put up our share of getting these grants, you watch how fast we get those grants, and you watch how fast this gets put together. Clean water, number 1, and that's how to do it. Number 2, good sanitation. Sewage is already self-funded, and garbage is nearly self-funded. With a little advertising to pick up extra out-of-town customers, garbage could be completely self-funded by the end of the year. We already run any place outside the city limits that gets Walhalla water has the option to get their garbage picked up. So we run garbage trucks out a long ways. We run them out down Knox Road, and many times we're only picking up a few cans. The thing is, our garbage pickup, our residential garbage pickup, is really fantastic. It is a fantastic deal. Where else are you getting your garbage picked up this cheaply and regularly on the ball? I know some people have had trouble with their commercial garbage pickup, but that just hasn't been, and I'm sure there's an occasion for a residential garbage pickup too. But really, far and away, our guys do a wonderful job at it, and it doesn't cost much at all. And all people need to know about is how readily available that is and how that'll save them money. I pay for 3 cans. What is that now? $18 per can in the city. Now it's more outside the city, a little more. $18 times 3. So you figure out, what does that come out to be? $48? $48 a month for my garbage to be picked up. I couldn't run to a convenience center back and forth in fuel and wear and tear on my vehicles, let alone the time and the hassle of doing it for $48 a month. That is a great, great deal. All we have to do is put in our water bills, because they're already getting our water bills. Just tell them the great deal that's available out there. And now, instead of picking up a couple cans going down Knox Road, hey, let's pick up 20. You watch how fast people sign up. We're going to be then breaking even on sanitation. That's a no-brainer. Number 3, fire protection. Because the past 2 city councils would not humble themselves and sit down with the Oconee County Council to discuss the fire contract, Walhalla is now left to provide its own fire protection using little more than taxes. Since this is the highest priority in the list of needs that requires the use of taxes, the lion's share of the city's tax revenue needs to go here. And this, as far as that goes, one reason, I mean, how else are you going to provide for yourself fire protection, EMS protection, because EMS doesn't show up like our fire department does. You're going to have to fund this department to get that done. But a real big part of this is that everybody's insurance is based on a rating, an ISO rating. We have an ISO rating in the city of 2. That keeps homeowners insurance cheap on their homes. Outside the city and the county, I believe it's 4. The thing is, if we do not have the adequate number of firemen, the fire trucks, the equipment on the trucks, we will lose that rating. If we lose that rating, you can expect the price of your homeowners to at least double. And so now I don't have homeowners. I wing it. I don't wing it here. I wing it here. But I know that people that have mortgages have to have homeowners. And generally, if you have a mortgage, you're living on a budget. You have to live on a tight budget, and you just can't afford watching your homeowner's insurance double. Well, I'm willing to pay more in taxes, a little more in taxes, so my neighbors don't have to pay a whole lot more in homeowners insurance. So that's why I'm saying taxes first thing. These things don't need taxes. Clean water doesn't need any of the tax. Sanitation, the sewage and garbage do not need taxes to fund them. But fire protection is going to need the taxes because we lost the fire contract because we weren't willing to sit down with our hats in our hands and just talk to the Oconee County Council. I hope that will change in the future, but they've made big plans for the future, and that might require years, and they may not be able to do anything from here on. But they could have, and they were willing to, but we weren't willing to sit down with them, and that's just a crying shame. But now it is what it is, and here we are, and so that's where the main part of the taxes need to go here for the fire protection. Now, where does that leave us with police protection? Because the current and past city councils have squandered the city's money on the frivolous wants of the establishment for the past 13 and a half years. Sadly, there is now very limited tax money available to maintain a police force. Using what tax money would still be left upon leaving the water money alone and funding the fire department, Walhalla could contract with the sheriff's department to provide the adequate police protection the city would need. Now that is kind of a bummer, having to do that rather than having our own police force, especially for our police officers who have served us so well for so long and so sacrificially. But what can we do? We have to have clean water. We have to have clean water, so we have to leave that money alone. Therefore, when it comes to our police protection, and I mean, if there was any way to do this otherwise, I'm the first one to find it. But right now, with the terrible situation, our financial situation, the establishment has left us in, I don't see there's much hope than just going to the sheriff's department and then taking what tax money we have, because for far, far less than we can have a police department, we can contract with the sheriff's department that's right here in our town and provide the protection we need. We would need a police chief. We'd probably need, beyond a police chief, one other policeman and probably someone to do the administrative work. But beyond that, we could contract with the sheriff's department and save hundreds of thousands of dollars. Number 5, recreation. Although recreation would be seen by most as the lowest priority of Walhalla's needs, a quality yet basic recreation department could still be funded due to state rules governing the use of the 2% hospitality tax. That's what we call the H tax. That's a 2% tax levied on prepared beverages and food sold within the city limits. Right there is how we keep recreation. Are we going to be able to have all the sports that we have right now? Well, this was back a couple years ago when they threw in a couple more sports, and I know that's great, having all the sports we can for the kids. But it was just a couple years. They knew that people's taxes are going up, water rates are going up, we're not able to do all this, and yet they threw in more sports. What I suggest, we get back to the basics in recreation and we do the basics fantastically. We can do that with the money we get over H-tax. So it's not coming out of the regular money, it's coming out of H-tax, and we can do the basics really, really well. That's what I'm telling you, and all 5 of these needs. If we will tighten the belt, get rid of all the frou-frou, paying for subsidizing things that have nothing to do with the government, subsidizing the civic auditoriums, subsidizing the museums, paying for facade grants on Main Street, paying for all this supposedly tourist stuff that we don't actually need to pay for, or it's bringing in its return. Now, I'm going to get to the tourist stuff because there is a place for that. But we are wasting and have been wasting a lot of money for a long time, not sticking with the needs, just sticking with extras. But if we get back to sticking with these needs, even now, and we get lean and we get mean, all these things we can do. Clean water in an excellent manner. Sanitation, fire protection, even police with hiring the sheriff's department, and a basic recreation department we can do in an excellent manner. And for the doubters that want to say, no, I'm not willing to tighten the belt on recreation or police. Well, if you're not willing, then that means you're going to continue to get dirty water. So you just decide in all this, if you want that, you better get ready to do all that, or you better just take your checkbook down and just lay it in the hands of Tim Hall. Because that's their solution for doing it. Raise your taxes, raise your rates, more. That's the liberal way of doing it. If you want to do it that way, yeah, you can get fantastic everything, and then it'll be like how it is up where I used to live, where a home this size in the Chicago suburbs that I wear now will cost you in taxes 10 times more than what you pay down here. You wonder why all the Yankees are coming down here. They're coming down here. Yes, you're kind people. They love that. Yes, you've got nice weather. But the main thing is they can't afford it. They've made it a government hellhole up north. And they're coming down here. And when they come down here and they see, and it's generally the more conservative ones that are coming, and when they come down here and they find us doing the same mistakes, they're like, oh my gosh, where do we go now? Because we're doing the same stupid mistakes they made up north 30 years ago, 40 years ago. And now they got 10 times more taxes, and their towns are pretty. They got all those extra little things you'd want, but who can afford to live in them? It's not worth it. Okay, now, then I was asked, and you can put it on me here, Gabe. Then I was asked, well, what's your plan for generating more money for the city? Well, that in the solution I'm giving is not the city's responsibility. That's the businesses and the people's responsibility to provide the money. to make the money for themselves. It's not the city's responsibility, the government's responsibility to go out and have the business plan or the life plan for individuals or businesses. And me being an entrepreneur, me creating my own businesses and owning my own businesses, I don't want the city to come and tell me anything how to run a business. They don't know how to run a business. Hey, cities don't know how to run a government. Isn't that obvious? Look at the people that you even have on councils. Are they the businessmen? Do they know what they're doing? You'd think they could run their home. They couldn't run their home like they run a business, where every time you don't have enough money and you can't say no to yourself, you just go to your neighbor and say, hey, give me your money. You know, that's how our government's running right now. They don't have money. They just go to the coffers and say, well, let's tax them some more because we want to keep on spending. So tax them some more. So that question just shows, I'm not saying that the person that asked that question, you know, is a bad guy or that is a liberal. I'm just saying he's bought into a liberal mindset that what we have to do is that the government has got to take care of us. No. The government serves us. We don't serve the government. The government serves us, but it serves us in just managing, once again, those needs that we all have that we can't take care of individually. So we just all pull our money, put it together, and say, and we tell the government, okay, you take care of the water, you take care of the sanitation, you take care of the fire and the police and the recreation. So we can all join in that. And that is it. It's as, and this is where Gabriel wants you to show it up on the board. Up here. This here. And this is what Ronald Reagan said in his first inaugural address. He said, government is not the solution to our problem. Government is the problem. That was Ronald Reagan in 1981 when he took the oath of office. Government is not the solution to our problem. Government is the problem. And that's what we have seen. We have seen that all over our country. So right now they wanted to annex. Oh my, if we could just annex, just hunting more money. Because see, you're gonna get, it's like Margaret Thatcher said, the problem with socialism is eventually you run out of other people's money. Well see, there's only so much they can charge for water. We're at the top end of that. There's only so much they can charge for sewer. We're at the top end of that. There is only so much they can charge in taxes. Walhalla's now got, I think, one of the highest tax rates we just raised it again, in the county. There's only so high you can go with taxes until you revolt. So now they've gone out and started annexing. At least they passed a law to start annexing people in. The idea is, if we've already taken as much as we can, as fast as we can from our people, now we got to get more people we can take the money from. Well, that's no solution, because it's, you see how that's worked all over the country. All the biggest cities in this country are horribly in debt, never have a chance to ever get out of debt. The bigger the cities get, the bigger government gets, the further it goes into debt. They say, oh, we got to do this to keep taxes low. Kenny Johns just said that. Oh, we got to do this to keep taxes low. Yeah, he's raising taxes. Who's he kidding? That never works. If you can't manage 4,000 people, how on God's green earth are you going to manage 5,000 people, 10,000 people, 100,000 people? There's not a city in the country that has proven that. What's the definition of insanity? Keep doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. Well, folks, I'm sure you're not insane, but they want to believe you're insane because they keep telling you, no. Let us get bigger, and then this whole thing will be solved. Never has worked that way, never will work that way, and Ronald Reagan knew it. Because government is not the solution. Government is not going to fix your wagon. Government is the problem. And so I wrote a couple things up here on the board, and I'm just going to go because people want ideas from me. They want, give me ideas and how we're going to get out of how the government's going to solve our problem. Well, hey, the government's not going to solve your problem, but there are some things that we have and some ideas, and people out there have a lot of other good ideas, and that's what we need to hear. But just in Stump House, we have an incredible resource in Stump House Mountain Park, up on the mountain there. Most cities do not have that. That is our golden goose that lays the golden eggs. So do you realize that Stump House 20 years ago was the #1 tourist attraction in the upstate? #1. See? Now I'm getting to tourism here. Do we have a tourism potential? Yes. Do we have a tourism potential on Main Street, Walhalla? No. We got a tourist potential in Stump House. It already was there. But we did a real silly thing at one point, is we closed that thing up. So you only can go in, what, a third of the way? And so I said, why are we opening that thing up? People love going in that thing. Man, everybody used to come to town. We'd take them straight up to Stump House. We'd walk straight to the back. It was eerie and it was wet and it was creepy, but it was fun. And you'd climb up in the back and you'd stick your fingers in there where they drilled to put the dynamite and everything, and it was a great thing. People would still do that to this day. But we closed it up. Why did we close it up? Oh, rocks are falling off the ceiling. It's dangerous. Insurance is a problem. Really. Well, a year ago, just a little better than a year ago, I went with Scott Paris. He had keys. And we went up the back and we walked the whole way through Stump House Tunnel to the back. Were there some rocks that had fallen? Yeah, there were some rocks. What, how long has it been closed? 18 years? I forget how long it's been closed. There were some rocks. There weren't many. For 18 years, no one's back there cleaning it up. So you got 18 years worth of rocks. I'm telling you, you barely have to step around them. You can just walk right through it. There's hardly any, really. Get someone to open up and go in there and walk and see. That thing needs opened up. You do that, let's get this thing back up to the people coming in. People will come here. We got a toll booth up there. We got one on the upper side for the mountain bikers. We can make some money on that. We make some money on Stump House. Hey, we can get back our everything we want to do in recreation. Make enough money on Stump House, I think we can do. Get back your police force. That right there is the golden goose. And there's tons more ideas. Let the entrepreneurs put their minds on how they can make money on Stump House. I tell you, the people that came up with that mountain bike and got us that grant to get that mountain bike trail up there, that's fantastic. Fantastic. Do you realize that is one of the premier world-class mountain bike rides in the eastern United States? Really. And it's world-class. I mean, it ranks as all over the world. And the mountain bike community knows about it. And they're coming to it. This thing is making us money. But the thing is, the way we're doing it, and we keep taking all the money and frittering it away on Main Street, this thing's going to go to pot, and we're not going to be able to maintain it. Right now, we've got a great crew of volunteers that maintain this thing, guys that use it. But they're going to need some money to keep that thing going. And watch out. With the way our liberal establishment is here, they're not going to use it there. There's a lot more things you can do. I'm a history lover. Anybody that's a history lover loves the history around Stump House Tunnel. Why don't we go and connect, make a trail, and connect all the entrances with Stump House, where you can have an interpretive walking trail. Wouldn't cost this much, and people could come and see the pictures and see how it was here back in the 1850s. To me, that's a great thing. But that's just ideas. That's just ideas. That place has got the potential to make us money. That's our golden goose. Since you wanted how I would do it, I'd say put the money into here. We had, in the hospitality fund, we had $843,000 saved. That's in the hospitality fund. $843,000. That's not what's coming in every year. That's just saved. Wow. can we do something with that there? Because you can't use it on everything. You can't use that hospitality money and everything. But you can use it on tourist things and anything that the state considers tourism with the rec department, which in our rec department is about everything. So let's put that money there. But I'll tell you, in the budget, it was just passed to take $500,000 from the hospitality fund and put it, God knows where, to put it in the general fund. So I'm telling you, they're rating, I don't know if they've taken it out of there, but they voted to take it out of there. They're already rating, because they're hurting so bad for money because of their crazy policies. They're already rating the thing that will keep the golden goose laying eggs. That's just Stump House Tunnel. Okay, auction barn. I wrote this down here. I've got a friend that's doing that had an idea, and he was just going to do he had a big red barn on his property. It actually was on property we own right here across the street. And he just said, you know, Grant, I want to take our old barn there, and I want to make it an auction barn. Just a small animal auction barn, or we can have different auctions in that thing. And people just come. We could sell people refreshments as they're there, and people could auction their chickens, their goats, their lambs. Everybody loves an auction, especially as there are fewer and fewer of them and harder to come by. That is something that just, oh man, they'll come out of Greenville to go to a good old auction where you're selling chickens and goats. They wouldn't even buy anything. Just come to see it and drink a Coke and to have some popcorn or a candy apple and just visit and see and taste a bit of yesteryear. He had a great idea going there. I am sure he could have done great with the auction barn. But you know what? Our rules in this city are so stringent that his own barn that he has there he had nearly 4 acres of land there. He couldn't even use the old barn. The city, no, you're not allowed to do that. What I'm saying, that's when government's the problem. That's when government's the problem. They're no solution, they're the problem. He would have had, if he could have done that, he would have kept that barn up, and he would have had a great fun place. People would have come to this town. People in the town would have had something clean and wholesome kind of entertainment, and it would have helped people trading and auctioning off their ducks and geese and all that. It just would have been fun. And it would have been no problem in the neighborhood. Everybody would have loved it. We did love it. He told us about it. He'd like to do it. We loved the idea. No, didn't. Well, the years passed. He couldn't use the barn for what he wanted to use it for. Fell into disrepair. Well, it just got taken down and it's gone. It's just a shame. One more thing that can happen when people are left to be able to do with their property what they want to do. They come up with great ideas and they pay taxes on those ideas, on the sale of that stuff, and the more prosperous they get, the more the town has to use. Nobody's upset. Nobody business owner that's making a lot of money is upset that you pay taxes, because paying taxes just proves that I'm making money. So let me make the money. I'm happy to pay the taxes. But if I can't make the money and you keep going up on the taxes anyhow, now you got a pissed off resident. Okay, quail eggs. I'm just talking to neighbors. I'm just talking to people. I put quail eggs up because I got another neighbor that raised quail. Now he's in the city. You know, that's a no-no. He's not allowed to raise quail. But none of us care. We're happy that he raises quail. But you know what? He doesn't bother anybody. And everyone's tickled about it. The thing is, why don't we just let him? Why does the city get out of his business and let him raise it so he can sell the quail eggs? Instead of just giving them to the neighbors and whatnot, he can sell the quail eggs so that he can make a little money to help raise his family, to make his business bigger and better, to make more money that he's paying more taxes for. Once again, the government is the problem. No. We can't have you selling quail eggs. And they limit his business potential. They limit the thriving of his family. Then that brings us to chickens. Now chickens, this has been a couple years ago, before this sitting council, but this sitting council won't be any different. I bring in the leading expert, the #1 expert on small farm poultry in the entire state. Her name is Mickey Hall. She went and taught at Clemson for, I'm thinking, close to 40 years. She taught there. This woman knows chickens like nobody knows chickens. Turkeys, quail, geese, ducks, all of it. She comes into council, speaks to them, because I'm trying to get a chicken ordinance where we can have chickens. You can have chickens in New York City, but you can't have them in Walhalla. And it's nuts, because our silly codes just grinding everybody down, grinding. She comes in and she just gives a presentation and lets everybody know there is no problem. If chickens are kept rightly, you have no problem with smell, with noise, with disease, nothing. Far quieter, even a rooster. She gave the decibels of a rooster. Even a rooster has less noise than a dog's bark. But fine, you don't have to allow roosters in here. Let people live. There are people all over the place. The price of food anymore, the price of what chicken was, still is. People are struggling. Let people live. Once again, government's the problem, not the solution. Get out of their business and let people live. I'm not saying they're going to let their chickens roll on all your yard and make a mess and misery for you. No, there's a way to make it so it helps everybody. Hey, even if you don't want chickens, if you let your neighbor, if you don't complain about that, and they'll take care of it, they'll understand, they take their chickens and they take care of them well, you might just find out you get free eggs. Because you know, in the world I live, in the neighborhoods I live in, when you got eggs and your neighbors there, you're happy to share. Why don't we get back to that? Get the government out of our business and let us live. Then there's this. Dollar General. You all know the story. I went over the story of Dollar General before. Dollar General, when Martha's fell down up there next to Bantam Chef, catty corner across the street from the police station, you know, it all got bulldozed and now we got an empty lot there. Well, Dollar General wanted to come in there. Dollar General wanted to put a store in there, and thus they said they will make it any way Walhalla wanted it. They'll make it real nice and trendy to look like the rest of town. But no, remember I told you this in a previous video. City Council could not have a Dollar General. A Dollar General are for the low people. You know, they couldn't complain, well, there's going to be big yellow signs. They couldn't, because Dollar General was already saying, we won't have any of that. We won't have any of our big yellow signs. But no, that's for the low people. That's the working man wants that. We want a hoity-toity town that is pleasing to us. And in hoity-toity towns, they don't have Dollar Generals, which is not true. Because I've been in the hoity-toity towns and seen the beautiful Dollar Generals. But what the Dollar Generals bring, they bring business income. They bring jobs and they bring tax money. And they're happy to pay their tax money because they're making a lot of money. And the more money they make, the more money the city makes. Our answers for getting the government funded: stop this crap. But not only that, we were to sell. We as a council decided that we were going to sell and that land right there. And then at the last minute, we had different offers of people wanting to buy the land, to put in businesses there. No, the last minute it was sprung on me at a council meeting. They don't tell me anything anymore because I tell them. Sprung at the last minute, and they made it a park. And they named it after Dennis Owens. I'm fine. I don't care what you name as something after. You want to name it, name it. I don't care. That means nothing to me about Dennis. Dennis, I didn't know Dennis. He could have been the best guy in the world deserving something named after him. The point is, you got to pay for a park. Number one, you lose. We paid, I think, $350,000 for that lot. Sell it. At least the city makes $350,000 that it can put into something that it really needs. But instead of selling it, what we did is we turned around and we made it a park. Well, parks, just because you have a lot doesn't mean you have a park. How much money are we now going to have to spend to make that into a park that is worth having? So here we go. One more thing, liberal mindset. Well, just take more money from the water customers, just take more money from the taxpayers, just annex more people in and get more money and pay for a park. It's mindless. We need to get rid of things like that. Now, coming to that, we have the Greenway. Now the Greenway, everybody understands the Greenway. That was a complete waste of money. We got 500,000 of it came in a grant, 500,000 of that came from water money. And that was a complete waste of money. We all understand that now. Hardly anybody uses it. And they're still talking about making it go around town, that's crazy. But right now, we have what we have. Why don't we repurpose the Greenway? These are just ideas. I'm not saying this should do, I'm just saying these are ideas, what we could do. If you want to have a farmer's market, why don't you put the farmer's market on there? You want to have a festival, why don't you put it down on the Greenway? See, we're having these festivals, and then they come in here, they close off the streets, and then the drive-through places lose their driving. Bantam Chef, every time they close the streets off, Bantam Chef can't do business. Everybody loves Bantam Chef. And Bantam Chef, based on the amount of business they give, they pay H tax. We want Bantam Chef open. Bantam Chef wants Bantam Chef open. People work there. People's lives depend on it. We keep closing the street, thereby Bantam Chef, we make it impossible for them to come in there. And so, move it over to the Greenway, where it doesn't have to be that way. There's a lot of things. Any kind of fair, any kind of carnival, anything you want, we already got the park. We already built the park. We spent a lot of money on the park. Let's use it as a park, not as a sidewalk to nowhere. These are just a few things, guys, that came up over my head. But ultimately what I'm saying, it's not the government's responsibility to solve these things. The government's responsibility, take care of the needs, and then get out of the way. Get all your rules out of the way and let the entrepreneurs, let the homeowners with all their wonderful ideas, because the government is never going to come up with all the ideas that all these people have in their minds, in their towns, to do with their land that they want. And when people have freedom, it explodes. Everyone will be prosperous. How do we know that? Because we live in the United States of America, the most prosperous country the world has ever seen, because of freedom. The more freedom, the more prosperity. The less freedom, the more poverty. Learn a lesson. We live in the country. Free this town. Free this town. And what's happens. So at any rate, let me finish it all here with Ronald Reagan once again. Government is not the solution to our problem. Government is the problem. Stop hindering us. So there you have my solution. For the haters out there, I know you're going to hate my solution. You'll run me down on Facebook. I'm used to you people. But for anybody that's serious, wanting a serious solution, there you got it. If you want to know more details, and there's more details than I got it, come sit at my table and I'll talk to you personally. Thank you. Goodbye.